John Lichtenstein, Managing Director, Global Metals Practice Lead at Accenture. Nice to see you at the Steel Survival Strategies Conference.
Great to be here.
And you focused here today on going toe-to-toe with international, U.S. companies versus international. What is your assessment of the Americans' ability to compete on the international stage?
I guess I have two comments. The first is, in my speech, I kind of tried to take it out of the country-to-country, toe-to-toe issue, because I think the industry as a whole faces a lot of long-term challenges. And so frankly, fighting over who's got the biggest piece of a potentially declining pie is sort of potentially short-sighted. So that's kind of was my take on the overall toe-to-toe topic, within the panel. But specifically addressing your question about the U.S. and Lear Gerard from the union and was on the panel, and I think the view is that for those facilities in the U.S. and Canada that have been invested in and where they have productive relationships with their workforce, either unionized or not, the U.S. can go toe-to-toe, level playing field. If you actually benchmark some of the efficiency metrics, be they labor efficiency, energy efficiency, the industry, the domestic industry is absolutely on par with other country leaders.
So let's talk about some of those bigger challenges you see then.
So I think the biggest challenge, again, facing the industry as a whole is declining rate of global demand. Global demand grew at 5% up to the Great Recession. Looking to the next 20 years, we see growth of only around 1.1%. And the added amount of demand over the next 20 years is less than the amount of excess capacity today. So I think it's a fact, but it's also a mindset issue, because the industry executives need to really think differently that demand growth is not going to save them. I think some of the other factors are that the marketplace is going to change. Digital marketplaces, even the Alibabas and the Amazons are going to become factors in the way steel is sold. I think that's a huge disruption. Another disruption comes from changing technology. I mean, in general, I didn't say one of the factors driving the reduction in demand growth is circular economy, changing consumer preferences, et cetera, et cetera. So again, those are a number of structural issues that need to be addressed.
So how do industry players start preparing for that? Because some are short term.
Yeah.
A lot of it is out of your control.
Right.
And you still have to respond and be profitable and move with the market.
Yeah, and I think that is obviously the question, and I think the key, as in any enterprise, is allocation, capital allocation, also talent allocation. So I think leaders need to kind of develop the mindset that says the business that I'm in today, the assets I use, the business processes I use, the workforce could change entirely. And there's a great temptation when prices rise and margin comes up to just keep putting money back in, or maybe to incrementally improve. Again, I'll take the example of automotive. I mean, competing, automotive is high margin business. It's considered very attractive. It's amazingly capital intensive, right? It takes a huge amount of capital. Fine, steel has done a good job in battling with aluminum, but that's another case where they're fighting over shrinking pie, because the number of automobiles that are going to be produced and bought, not just in the US or Germany, but everywhere in the world, is going to be much lower than people expect. So again, it's a mindset that says, what parts of my current business and business model are really going to be disrupted? How do I try and develop new businesses? And potentially, not just in steel. And there's always a trade-off between diversifying into something you know nothing about and moving incrementally into something where you have some leverageable skill set. And I think that's the balance. I mean, I think the traditional steel company model, and certainly this traditional service center model, right, are just going to be under tremendous pressure.
You touched on this a little bit, but with disruption, you can see opportunities, and sometimes opportunities are lost. Do you have any sense with this period of disruption, which way it's going to go for the industry?
It's up to how the industry responds, isn't it? And I think you asked me what do steel companies do earlier on. I mean, I think there's a discussion as to what can be done at the individual company level, what needs to be done at the industry level, and what can be done within legal and antitrust considerations. But I made the comment in there, I don't know what the industry around the world is spending on trade lawyers, but whatever it is, it's far in excess of what we could spend on market development, right? And so I think trying to lift things out, and not to say whether, I'm not commenting on whether they should or shouldn't be spending that money and the justification of any given trade case. Just regardless of that, the amount of money they could spend collectively on market development. And I don't mean somebody developing a slightly better product to compete with their neighbor, but impacting the amount of steel that gets consumed in the world is the challenge.
You've given us a lot to think about. John, thank you so much.
Thank you.